Hi, this is Randy Kirk, and just the other day, Ross Gerber said that the Tesla charging station business should be valued at tens of billions of dollars. Should Tesla spin it off? So at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you about a new idea I have for my Patreon program, whatever Patreon system. I think I have a really fun thing that you might want to participate in, but I'm going to do it at the end. So in the meantime, let's get right into this subject matter. Tesla is said by many, including me, to be really 12 startup companies. And these 12 startup companies, most of them have the potential to be worth $1 trillion. And then in addition to that, three of them have the potential to be worth tens of trillions of dollars. At least two or three of them have the potential to be the most valuable companies ever in the world. Certainly now, if they were 10 trillion, of course, they would automatically make that mark. So I want to talk today about the whole problem of Tesla being dramatically undervalued, even if it was valued today at 1.2 trillion at the very top. Even if it was still valued at that today in this market, it would be undervalued because it's only being valued based on the automotive division. And I can prove that 15 ways from Christmas, but let's talk about the details of how we can look at this, okay? So number one, we have the automotive division. Almost every investor out there looks at Tesla as an automotive company. This would be like Apple in the early days when they were only about the phone and nobody was paying any attention to the App Store. And the App Store was like, okay, well, that's just a small piece, and the computers are just a small piece and blah, 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 but it's all about the phone. And if they miss on the phones, then they've missed, well, guess what? Now the App Store is a big deal. The watch is a big deal. So these things change over time, but usually almost all companies end up with one part of their business being viewed as the business that drives the stock. And right now that's automotive. So I'm going to suggest, and I think you'll agree with me, that the automotive division, which will make something like $7 a share next year, should be, and is going to increase at more than 50% a year in profits, should be valued at least at $350 a share, at least 50 times earnings for a company growing that fast. So if it's $50, if it's $350 a share, we're getting very close to being back over the $1 trillion mark again. You and I could both make the argument it should be $400 a share under that same argument, just for automotive. All right. And the $7 a share is a really low number, in my opinion. That's all based on 2.1 million cars. I believe it's going to be 2.65. Other people have it in between. I think 2.4 to 2.5 is a lead pipe cinch. So that alone would cause the stock to be worth today at least the 1.25 trillion that it was worth. All right. Having said all that, we now know we can say therefore that we have this automotive division which is worth all of the stock value. But what other divisions are there? Well, there's Optimus, for instance. I've made arguments on YouTube. Everybody kind of got up in my face about it. I said they should spin off Optimus. And it's like, well, why would you spin off Optimus? We all want to be a part of it. No, a spin-off means that you as a stockholder get your shares of the new company. So now you have shares in both companies. And now that other share can be traded independently. Anyway, I said, why don't we spin off Optimus? Optimus is potentially, Elon says it's the biggest idea he's ever had, worth tens of trillions of dollars. Eventually, it's worth a lot today. And I'm going to be doing another video on Optimus, and we'll talk about what might be a fair value if it were spun off today and if there was an IPO. Energy storage. That's all the big talk. I've done videos recently. There'll be more videos coming, I'm sure, on energy storage. But energy storage alone, I'm sure it's going to be at least 1 terawatt. Maybe that'll be 2027. 1 terawatt at $500 a kilowatt makes it a $500 billion revenue business at what we believe now to be 50% margins. So 250 billion in profits. I don't know, what's that worth? Next year, it'll be at least 10 billion and maybe 12 billion in profits just for that division. And it's going to grow at much faster rate. According to Elon, it's going to grow much faster than the automotive division. So if you give that $10 a share, $10 billion of value, makes it $3.30 a share, times 50, you've got $150, $160 a share just for the energy division right now, just based on Lathrop. And I think there's going to be 25 Lathrops in the United States, not counting additional ones around the world. I think I've made that case elsewhere. You can argue with me here, you can argue with me over there, make the comments, but I don't see any way that we don't get 25 Lathrops in the United States. So what's the energy division worth? You could spin it off. You could spin it off later, maybe a year from now, 2 years from now. You could have a completely separate company, but right now it's worth more. It's worth half, let's say, of the total valuation that the market is giving the entire company. More than that, probably, but at least half. All right. Next is solar. Right now, there's not a lot of talk about solar, but that's a whole other piece of the pie. Then you have the charging stations. We'll come back to those. Commercial trucks. Let's just talk about the semi-truck, and in China, they call it a large truck. So 50,000 of those in 2024. And let's just say $50,000 profit each. 50 times 50, 2.5 billion in profit. Okay, if it's 2.5 billion in profit and it's going to grow, who knows? Let's put the growth a little lower. So we'll just say for today, 30 times. So there will be another 75 billion in valuation right now. So Rivian was at one point valued at 100 billion. And that was before they had a plant. That was before they had cars. Why wouldn't you think that Tesla, who's already rolling out the trucks and already has a plant and already has everything done, it's just a matter of making them and shipping them, why wouldn't that be worth more than Rivian was worth at that point? So 100 billion out of the 400 billion that Tesla's worth today, or less than 400 billion that's worth today, 100 billion just in the semi, as it stands right now. Okay. Going down from there, you've got Tesla Insurance. Insurance is in this particular case, it's just a way to print money, because Tesla can manage every aspect of the insurance. We've got other videos on this, but the insurance business might be worth, 10 billion right now. Tesla Electric, the potential for Tesla Electric is nuts. Probably do a video on this later this month. Robotaxi, people have placed, Kathy Wood places the value of the robotaxi business as 10 trillion. There's probably not going to be any other competitors, but maybe there will be. Maybe only 2 trillion of it will be Tesla. Right now, Tesla gets no value from the robotaxi business. Should it be as much as Rivian? Should it be half of Rivian today? As we anticipate that, because people do buy the future. That's the whole idea. The whole idea is, yes, that looks like there's going to be something there. So if Robotaxi was a separate company, robotaxiinc.com, Robotaxi Inc., and you could buy into it today, wouldn't you? I would. I wouldn't even take me a second to decide. Lithium refining, opening their first lithium refining plant in South Texas. What is that worth? It's going to happen. They're going to refine. So what are you willing to pay for that today? Battery manufacturing. They're already doing about 10 gigawatts, 20 gigawatts right now. They've got plans to do 220 gigawatts, 220 gigawatt hours of production in the near future. If you were buying that company just for doing those 4680 cells and you knew Elon Musk was behind it, what would you pay for that company? I'm thinking maybe a couple of 100 billion, maybe half the value again. Right now, as it stands, making batteries, having lines, factories up, producing product that works, maybe 200 billion. I don't know. You make your own argument. All right. So let's talk about the one that started the whole story. So Ross Gerber, you may know who Ross is. Ross is an investment advisor. He has a fund He's out of the Santa Monica area. He's very well known on Twitter. He wants to be on the board of directors of Tesla. Ross says that the charging stations, supercharging stations, are worth tens of billions all by themselves. Okay, so once again, company's only worth under 400 billion, and just the charging stations today, right now, he's saying are worth that much. Well, you got to know that somewhere along the line, either the U.S. government or the European Union is going to say, you know what, you own the cars, you're vertical all over the cars with insurance and everything else, and now you own the stations also, and doesn't that create kind of a monopolistic kind of... So there's a possibility that this would be one of the places where the monopoly thing could be thrown at them. So why not split it off now? I'm going to suggest that if they're going to have 100,000 of these pumps at probably 10,000 stations by the end of 2024, and some of them are going to have restaurants, and some of them are going to have stuff, giveaway stuff, merch, and some of them might have vending machines, and some might have advertising, and there's so many ways that you should be able to monetize what's happening at those stations. I don't know, what is the company worth? So it's very hard to make that decision. We know, according to Lars, so if you haven't purchased a copy of the Elon Musk Mission, you should. Back a couple of months ago, October 27th, we came out with the book, and in the book, there's a huge detailed breakdown of the value of what's happening at these stations and what the profits look like and what the profits are going to be in the future as they switch over to having the solar and the mega packs providing almost free energy and charging for energy and charging more for non-Tesla branded vehicles and adding all these other frou-frous at each location. So let's see here. I want to get the exact number here. Lars estimated that Tesla should be making about 700 million from this division at the end of 2022 and 2.1 billion by the end of 2024. And that's still buying energy from the grid. So they could do all these other things. If you take all of that and you use a 30 times multiple, you're now looking at 21 billion in value just for the stations as they are today. Now, what's going to happen after 2024? Well, after 2024, you're going to start to see the other brands ramp. And after 2024, you're still going to see Tesla continue to ramp up in numbers. And each year it'll be more, because in order to do 50% of 1 million, it's only 500,000 more. But in order to do 50% of 5 million, it's 2.5 million more. So you're going to have a lot more cars on the road. You're going to go from having 3 or 4% of the cars on the road being electric to where you're going to have 10 and then 15 and then 20. So you're going to need a lot of these stations, and you're going to need a lot of these superchargers. So is the value properly 30 billion, or should it even be higher than that? Well, I'm going to leave you to your own devices with regard to that, but that's just an example. They could spin that off, see what the market thinks that the stations are worth, not ever have to deal with the European Union or the United States saying it's some kind of a monopoly, and the shareholders could participate in the increase in value in that company separately. Just a few ideas, throwing them out there. Nobody else is doing it, so I thought I would, Now let's talk about Patreon. That's exactly what I want to do on Patreon. What I want to do on Patreon is I want to get into a conversation with you. I want to get into some brainstorming and spitballing about some of these ideas. You might have some ideas. I bet you do. I want you to bring them to Patreon. Let's brainstorm them on Patreon. I'm gonna throw my ideas up early. I'm going to do the same thing everybody else does. I'm going to put the YouTube videos up sometimes 2 days, a day, half day early. Most of the time it'll be 1 to 2 days early. I'm going to write some stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. I'm going to do some spreadsheets that you're not going to find anywhere else. I'm going to do all the same stuff that the other Patreon guys do. But my special sauce is going to be, I'm going to throw out these wild and crazy, nutty ideas. And why am I the one that has these wild and crazy? Well, there's two things that maybe you don't know about me. Maybe you do. I was a manufacturer for 30 years, a plastics manufacturer. So I know about manufacturing. So that gives me kind of an insight. I'm a product guy. Okay. I've developed hundreds and hundreds of products over the years, nothing like cars, but products. So I have a kinship in that regard. The other thing is I'm a marketing guy and a sales guy. So I'm always trying to think of new ways to sell things. I'm looking at I'm looking at the distribution networks. I'm looking at what the TAM is and who is in the TAM. How can I develop more distribution for the same product? I mean, that's what I've been doing my whole career. Most of the people that are doing YouTube videos or that are on Patreon or they're on Twitter, they don't have any of this experience. My experience is very different than almost everybody out there. Because of that, I think that's why I tend to be a little bit ahead of the curve on some of these ideas. So if you'd like to be part of that, if you'd like to, get in there and tell me, Randy, that's the stupidest idea I ever heard, or hey, what if you took that idea and you did this to it? Brainstorming, spitballing, that's what we're going to try to do on Patreon. It's $5 a month. And if you join now and you stay with me, if I ever raise it, you'll be grandfathered in at $5 a month. So that's my Patreon idea. Just one more outside the box idea. Hey, it's been great talking to you.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.